So today I'm going to be talking about the history of fertilizer. So to start out, I just have a quick question. What is fertilizer? A fertilizer is any material of natural or synthetic origin that is applied to soils or to plant tissues to supply one or more plant nutrients essential to the growth of plants. 8,000 years ago, farmers in Egypt, Rome, and Germany used minerals, wood ash, and manure on fields. In the 1730s, Charles Townshend studies the four-crop rotation with wheat, clover, oats, and turnips. He divided 4 fields into those 4 types of produce because crops being in the same place decreases nutrients, so he did this to replace nutrients back in the soil. Later on, Victor Court does study of gypsum effect on sulfuric acid. In 1768, Johann Mayer produced a book and made his experiments with the use of gypsum public. Englishmen James Fisson, Edward Packard, and Thomas Hadfield founded commercial fertilizer companies in the early 19th century, and they used bone meal to create fertilizers. The Birkeland-Ide process was one of the competing industrial processes in the beginning of nitrogen-based fertilizer production. This took place in a Norwegian factory, and there's a picture of the Birkeland guy working on that production of fertilizer. Carl Bosch and Fritz Haber developed the Haber process in the early 20th century. The Haber process is an artificial nitrogen fixation process. It is the main industrial procedure for the production of ammonia today. It is energy efficient, and the guys actually won Nobel Prizes for this invention. Here's a diagram of the Haber process. So we start out with nitrogen from the air and hydrogen from natural gas, and those come together to make a 1:3 ratio at a temperature of 400 to 450 degrees Celsius and at a pressure of 200 atm with an addition of an iron catalyst, and then these gases are cooled and the ammonia turns to liquid. William Ostwald later on develops the process for making nitric acid in 1902. In 1927, Erling Johnson developed the OTA process, which is an industrial process to produce nitrophosphate. Slow-release fertilizer first appeared in 1936, and it was finally commercialized in 1955. In 1960, the National Fertilizer Development Center started developing sulfur-coated urea, and down at the bottom right-hand corner you can see that there's a urea core fertilizer granule, and there's a urea core, there's a sulfur coat around the core of urea, and then around the sulfur there's a polymer top coat. So then some of the types of fertilizers that we have today, there's pictured a bag of bone meal and a bag of urea, but we also have single nutrient, which is K. We have compound, we have binary 2 components, which is nitrogen and phosphorus. We have NPK, which is nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, which is the most common. We have slow release, and like I said, the modern day urea is by Espoma, and the modern day organic bone meal is by Job's Organics.